මම ආචාර්ය හර්ෂණ සූර්යපෙරුම ජාතික ජන බලවේගයේ ආර්ථික කවුන්සිලය නියෝජනය කරමින් තමයි සහභාගී වෙන්නේ අද මේ අදහස් දැක්වීමට. අපි පැහැදිලිවම බලන්නට ඕන මේ දැනට ඇති වෙලා තියෙන වාතාවරණයට හේතුව රටේ තියෙන ආර්ථික ගැටලුවක් විතරද කියන එක. සමහර අය හුවා දක්වන්නට උත්සාහ කරනවා රටේ වර්තමාන තත්වයට හේතුව තමයි මේ ආර්ථිකය කළමනාකරණය කිරීමේදී තිබුණු ගැටලු සහගත භාවය කියලා. නමුත් මේක හුදෙක් ආර්ථික ගැටලුවක් විතරක් නෙමෙයි සමස්ත පද්ධතිය පුරාම පැතිරිලා ගිය සමස්ත පද්ධතියටම වින කරන දූෂණය වංචාව රජයන සමාජ ක්‍රමවේදයක් තුළ සමාජීය ගැටලු ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා, ආර්ථික ගැටලු ඇති වෙලා තියෙනවා. රටක් විදියට අපිට අපේ අනන්‍යතාවයට අපේ ස්වෛරීභාවයට ගැටලු රාශියක් මැදි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මේක හුදෙක් ආර්ථික ගැටලුවක් පමණක් නෙමෙයි කියන ස්ථාවරය තමයි ජනතාවට දැන් පැහැදිලි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒ විතරක් නෙමෙයි අපිට පේනවා රටේ මිනිස්සු කියන කතාබහත් එක්ක වර්තමාන දූෂිත දේශපාලඥයෝ සහ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න වයසක සීයලා එකතු වෙලා අපේ ආදරණීය දුවලගේ පුතාලගේ අනාගතය දූෂණය කරලා තියෙනවා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න වයසක සීයලා දූෂිත දේශපාලඥයෝ එකතු වෙලා තරුණ දරුවන්ගේ අනාගත බලාපොරොත්තු විනාශ කරලා තියෙනවා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න වයසක සීයලා දූෂිත දේශපාලඥයෝ සහ ඔවුන්ගේ හෙන්චයියන් එකතු වෙලා විශ්‍රාම ගිය රටේ ආදරණීය දෙමව්පියන්ගේ තමන්ගේ විශ්‍රාම ජීවිතය පිළිබඳව බලාපොරොත්තු තියාගෙන තමන්ගේ දරු මුණුබුරන් එක්ක සැඳෑසුවේ සතුටින් ගත කරන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වේ ආදරණීය බලාපොරොත්තුව විනාශ කරලා තියෙනවා. හේතුව ඒ දරු මුණුබුරෝ සියලු දෙනාම රට අතහැර යන තත්වයට මේ රටව පත් කරලා තියෙනවා මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉන්න වයසක සීයලා සහ දූෂිත දේශපාලඥයෝ රැළ එකතු වෙලා. ඒ නිසා තමයි මේක මම අර මුලින් සඳහන් කරා වගේ සමාජ පද්ධතිය සමස්ත පද්ධතියම විනාශ වෙලා තියෙන අවස්ථාවක තමයි මේ අරගලය තියෙන්නේ, මේ ජනතාවගේ උත්සාහය තියෙන්නේ. 16 වතාවක් IMF එකට ගිහිල්ලා ෆේල් වුණා. මේ දූෂිත දේශපාලඥයොත් එක්ක වැඩපිළිවෙල කරන්න බැරි බව රටම තේරුම් අරගෙන තියෙනවා. වසර 70කට අධික කාලයක් තට්ටු මාරු ක්‍රමයට මේ දේශපාලඥයොත් මේ දූෂිත රැළත් එක්ක වැඩ කටයුතු කරා. නමුත් ඒකෙන් මේ රට ගොඩ ගියේ නැති බව රටේ ජනතාවට දැන් සුදක්සේ පැහැදිලි වෙලා තියෙනවා. අන්න ඒ වගේ වාතාවරණයක ඉඳලා තමයි අපි මේ විග්‍රහය මේ ආර්ථික ජාතික ජනබලවේගයේ මාලිමාවේ ඉදිරි දිශානතිය ගමන් මඟ පිළිබඳව අපේ ආර්ථික සැලැස්ම පිළිබඳව තුලින් කොහොමද මේ ගැටලු වලට උත්තර දෙන්නේ පිළිබඳව කියන එක සාකච්ඡා කරන්නේ. First of all, I would like to acknowledge I'm representing the Economic Council of NPP. There are major issues the country is currently going through. Some are trying to highlight that the issues the current country is facing as of now is a mere economical issue or matters relating to economics, whereas when the entire system is corrupt, when the entire system has failed, just by resurrecting economy through the expertise of economists is not going to resolve this issue. That is why a correct political leadership and a leader who's willing to provide leadership with action has to be brought into power to resurrect the country and to give the solution to the hopes of future generations. If you look at why the dollar rates as of now in Sri Lanka has come to this state, some are trying to say because of the prudent way the current government and the current politicians have managed the economy, the dollar has come down and the rupee has strengthened. But if you look at the real reason, I will show some indications to show. If you can get a closer look of this graph, it shows the dollar is based, the behavior of dollar is significantly based on the demand and supply as well. You can see very clearly this graph shows based on the central bank data, the importation demand since October is coming down month by month. There's a sharp decline in importation into the country. This shows because lack of demand for importation, the dollar is coming, the rate value for dollar is coming down. Why is the lack of demand for dollar? Because businesses are struggling to survive. Consumers are struggling to survive. In a situation like that, the chances of further spending on importation is much low. So this is a testimony to the economic mismanagement. It is not a graph of achievement through economic management. You can see the way how central bank has behaved in the recent past. It is no secret. If the dollar has really strengthened the way, rupee has really strengthened the way the central bank is trying to portray through these artificial dollar rates, the benefit of that one has to be given to the people. The benefit of that one has to be given to the industries, to the businesses of the country. If you look at the energy cost, is it a reflection of these reduced dollar rates? Answer is clearly no. Government has, or the policy makers have thought the biggest problem in terms of energy currently the country is facing is the super diesel price. That is why 2 days before, super diesel price was reduced significantly, while no relief was given to other sectors for fuel, diesel and the fuels used by the population, by the people, by the businesses. Tourism sector is trying to come up after a long period of gap silence. They are trying to survive. Their cash flows are threatened. Some of the tourist hotels require, because of their star classification, to run air conditioning 24/7, including in general areas. The energy cost is a killer on their cash flow. If the government is serious about it, they should have they should have considered the cost of diesel, which will give benefits to industries. You can see by looking at the prices in the share market, some of the hotel sector companies have started performing now. Whereas if these benefits were truly given, if the central bank was passionate and relief was truly given through correct policies, the industries will get the benefit. It raises another question, whether some of these government agencies are coordinating effectively with one another. It's like the way the fuel rates have been reduced, it looks like left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So there's lack of coordination. Through NPP policies and approaches, our economic principles are based on clear coordination of these government agencies that's supposed to provide relief and benefits to people. If you look at inflation numbers, government has chosen inflation numbers as a means of showing magic to people instead of looking at the reality. For people, it is a struggle on a day-to-day basis. Prices have skyrocketed. Some of the essentials have gone up by increased, doubled or tripled in some of the cases. Whereas government inflation numbers shows it is a mere manipulation of numbers. The people are struggling, businesses are struggling. If you look at the inflation numbers, central bank is once again boasting the AWPLRS significantly come down. But if you look at the prices that people have to pay, if the cost of borrowings businesses have to pay, there's no significant difference as of now. It is true there's a reduction in rates, but the proportionality of those benefits have not come to people yet. The proportionality of benefit has not come to businesses yet. So it is important to have an effective mechanism. That is where NPP's economic policies are about facilitating and having a mechanism to drive these benefits to the businesses and to people. Businesses can start based on their input cost reduction, then can start manufacturing, engage in more activities that will increase the supply of goods and services to the market, that will drive down the prices, which will bring down the inflation. If you look at the stock market, there are significant challenges and issues that the PLCs, listed companies, are going through, investors are facing, and the way how regulations are behaving as of now. If you look at the listed companies, many companies have chose to delist because of over-regulation. Sometimes companies have cited in their market disclosure the reason for delisting is because of over-regulation, lack of proportionate regulation that facilitates a conducive marketplace where companies can operate. If you look at the way regulators, apparently based on the communication, based on the information that we get from people, sending hundreds and hundreds of letters to investors to create fear-mongering, to create a fear psycho among investors, to keep investors out of market. Since the regulation has significantly changed in the recent past, the correct thing should have been engage with investors to create awareness, to make investors understand the boundaries and the lines that they should not be crossing when they are dealing with the market. Instead of choosing that path, when the regulator has so many tools at their disposals to deal with market misconduct, they are selecting to show cause hundreds and hundreds of investors. They are, instead of providing the relief to listed companies by by considering a situation where, given the context of the country is going through unprecedented calamity of economic collapse, companies are struggling to raise capital. Instead of creating a facilitative ground for companies to raise more equity capital, to companies to go and raise more right issues, to raise capital, to strengthen the capital base, they are bringing in rules after rules. Sometimes you lose the track of the rules that companies supposed to be familiar with. 2 weeks back, regulator came up with new rules, going to introduce penalties from 1 million to 5 million per director of a listed company if there is a delay in submission of interim financials. There is a list where individual directors are liable from 1 million to 5 million rupees for delay in submission of interim financials. No doubt it is true that information is the key. Market has to be provided with timely information at any time. But if you look at a company with 10 directors, the penalties are going to be ranging from 10 million to 50 million. Mind you, it is per quarter. If 4 quarters, if there are slight delays, we are talking of 50 million to 100 million or 200 million of penalties imposed on directors. Some of the listed companies even don't have 200 million in their turnover, in their top lines. So if you're trying to create a culture situation to scare the investors, there's no wonder that some of the companies are considering the over-regulation and the regulatory cost of the market and decided to walk out from the market. 2 of the largest market cap companies have delisted in the recent past. Many are in the pipeline. Resolutions have been passed, awaiting delisting. Then further, if you look at the demutualization bill, I can remember very well some of these experts out there in the opposition. They were crying at the loudest voice prior to 2015 relating to the misconduct in the market. Since then, they have become the president of the country, prime minister of the country. These people have become deputy ministers overlooking these institutions directly. Instead of going forward with the demutualization bill, I'll give a brief of what it indicates. Currently, the Colombo Stock Exchange is controlled by 15 stock brokering firms, or its ownership is with 15 stock brokering firms. It is currently a mutually controlled stock exchange. That was the case in many countries across the globe, but it has evolved to demutualize this exchange and bring true governance to these institutions. That is why demutualization is very important in the Sri Lankan context. But unfortunately, the people who are crying now were given the opportunity and the mandate from the people to go and do that one in 2015. The demutualization bill was tabled in the parliament. However, instead of taking it up for debate, the very person who's making allegations decided to withdraw the demutualization bill. Are we expecting people to believe the lies and continue further? I think the country has made a choice. We cannot be taken for a ride again, literally, not again in a Volkswagen. People are much more aware. People have access to information. If you look at many other segments in the market, the situation is the same. Therefore, nowadays, the policy framework of NPP, the approach of NPP is in consultation, looking at proportionate regulation to support the investors. It is not about going behind each and every investor in the market to see whether they have done something wrong or not. It is about creating awareness in the market, supporting them, facilitative environment, invite more companies to come and get listed, consider measures to increase liquidity in the market. It's about supporting the whole ecosystem. That's why the policy framework and the economic policies of the NPP is to drive the economy forward, not to hinder the progress. Because of that, there's a common conception that rich are crooks. The reason why people associate this rich and crooks as a concept as together, because many corrupt politicians have got impunity for themselves as well as for their corrupt associates through various corrupt activities. Whereas rich must be, I'm sure they must be the happiest that NPP is going to get into power, because NPP will be able to, by implementing a transparent framework, to separate, to distinguish people who have robbed public money versus the rich. Rich have contributed to the country. The NPP will recognize large business entrepreneurs, businesses that have become big businesses, not by stealing, but by doing the right thing. Large businesses need to engage in the economy to bring large enterprises in terms of capital formation, in terms of creation of employment, in terms of creation of bringing new technology, in terms of payment of taxation. So NPP's economic policies are considering all aspects of the economy, all sectors of the economy, both rich and poor, large and smaller businesses. It is going to be a conducive environment. So I don't think people can be fooled again by these rosy pictures that the current lot has the capacity to do it, whereas they have demonstrated they do not have the capacity over 70 years consecutively. That is why people are galvanized with NPP, people are getting galvanized with Malimawa to go for this new future that everyone is looking forward to. Let's take up more questions when we have time to. Thank you very much.